Hi everybody, Hassan Shariq, regulated Canadian immigration consultant, back with another video on Canadian immigration. My prayers and wishes that all of you, along with your families, are doing really well wherever in the world you are. It's a lovely sunny summer day here in Mississauga, Canada. In today's video, I'm going to talk about how to get permanent residency in Canada once you finish your studies within Canada. So if you are an international student who is already in Canada and you are exploring your options for permanent residency once you finish your degree, or if you are a prospective international student outside of Canada who is looking at programs, institutions to apply, and also interested in obtaining PR at the end of your degree in Canada, do watch the video till the end so that you have better information to make the right decision. So as I mentioned, the topic for today's video is PR options and pathways once you finish your studies in Canada. And before we move towards the details of the topic itself, for those of you who are watching my video for the first time, I'd highly recommend subscribing to the channel because I upload videos on Canadian immigration frequently. And if you're interested in this area, you'll greatly benefit from the information. For those of you interested in today's topic, watch the video till the end so that you have a better understanding. And if you still have any query, do ask your questions through the comment box below. To begin, let me share two important things for your context. Number one, Canada has a well-established skilled migration system in place. The reason for that is that Canada has a small population which is aging, and there is a need for young skilled people to become permanent residents of Canada and become active part of the Canadian workforce. And then Canada has a well-established higher education system providing quality education not only to the domestic students but to international students as well. There's about more than 400,000 international students right now in Canada doing studies at various levels. So if you look at these two things in connection, any student who comes to Canada from a foreign country, completes education at any level, there are multiple options available for such a graduate to stay back in Canada, obtain permanent residency, and become active part of the Canadian workforce. So the first way of obtaining the PR, or actually a tool to obtain the PR, is that all international students who study in Canada for a period of at least 8 months, and when I say period of 8 months, it means the duration of the degree was 8 months, and they're able to complete a degree, diploma, or a certificate from a designated learning institute in Canada, they become eligible for a postgraduate work permit, PGWP. The duration of this postgraduate work permit can be between 8 months up to 3 years. This is dependent on the length of your degree. This postgraduate work permit is an open work permit which allows the students to work anywhere in Canada for any employer. So the first major option that all graduates have is the express entry system. Now keep in mind that express entry system has a specific stream which is the Canadian experience class, and for that you must have had work experience in Canada or education in Canada. So this is where a lot of graduates from Canada would be applying into. Because of your Canadian education and because of the postgraduate work permit that you get, you have the opportunity of scoring additional points the CRS points under express entry system compared with somebody who has not had education or work experience within Canada. So first, if we look at it, in terms of CRS, you are able to gain between 15 to 30 points for your education that you've completed in Canada. If you have completed a degree which was up to 2 years, you may be eligible for 15 CRS points. If your degree was 3 years or more, you are eligible for 30 additional points. The second thing wherein studies in Canada and PGWP will help applicants in obtaining PR is that once they have the PGWP, they're able to work in Canada. And this additional work experience in Canada that they have will provide them with some additional CRS points that applicants from outside of Canada are not able to score. Now, depending on what is the length of your PGWP and how long have you worked, you can score additional points for Canadian work experience. So it is in a combination of skill transferability. If you have Canadian work experience of about 1 year and you have, depending on what qualification you have, you can score between 13 to 25 points in a combination of Canadian work experience and your education. Moving on, for those applicants who would probably be doing a PGD or a master's in Canada and they already had some work experience before moving to Canada for their studies, they can have additional points, CRS points, in terms of skill transferability if they have Canadian work experience as well as foreign work experience. So depending upon that combination, again, you can score about 25 to 50 points for this combination. And these will be additional points compared with applicants from outside of Canada. So first option is your express entry, wherein because of your Canadian education, because of your Canadian work experience, you will be able to gain additional CRS points. And that in the current circumstances, if you look at the cutoff CRS, which are as high as 460s and 470s, if you have additional 20-25 CRS points, that can make and break for your overall application. The next way of obtaining PR is wherein you gain points or you increase your options because of a job offer. So see, once you have your postgraduate work permit, whatever the duration it is, you are allowed to work in Canada. So you start working. For instance, it was only for 1 year or maybe 2 years, and you work for 1 year or 2 years. And at the end of that, based on your overall profile, you're still not able to have enough points to meet the cutoff score for express entry draws. Now that you worked for an organization, there is strong possibility that if you worked well, that particular organization might offer you a full-time job, and you can have a job with an LMIA. Now, this particular job offer with an LMIA, because you've already worked for that employer and they're satisfied with your work and they would want to continue using your services, will give you additional points for your express entry, like the CRS points. And if your job is at a skill level 0, A or B, you get additional 50 CRS points. And if it is at 0, skill level, then you get 200 points, which will not be likely for many people, but for most of the people, they will be able to secure another 50 points. Now, again, this can help you jump up in that CRS score range and be successful under express entry. The third option that you have is PNPs, the provincial nomination programs. So each of the provinces and territories has its own provincial nomination program. And based on the current program requirements of all these various programs, almost all of these PNPs have a stream targeted just for international graduates. In many cases, it is graduates from institutions from within that particular province, but in some instances, it is actually for any Canadian graduate. So just giving you an example, the OINP, the Provincial Nomination Program by the province of Ontario. One, it has a specific stream for international graduates under its job offer stream. So if you have been offered a job by an employer within Ontario, and you're a local graduate from an institution which is within the province of Ontario, you are able to secure a provincial nomination under this particular stream. And then under their human capital priorities stream, they have a specific stream for Ontario graduates with masters and PhDs. So, there are additional options for people under OINP. If we look at some other provinces, for example, if you're looking at the example of Alberta, so in a case of Alberta, and that's again managed by Express Entry, Alberta prefers to invite applicants who have a connection with the province. And this connection can be in terms of your studies within the province or work experience that you gained because of the postgraduate work permit. So your chances of being invited for the Alberta Immigrant Nominee Program are higher than compared to somebody who's outside of Canada, who's probably outside of the province, and has no connection to the province. Moving on, if we look at the PNP program of Saskatchewan, they provide additional points if you have had study from within the province or if you worked in the province. And again, as I mentioned, the postgraduate work permit provides you the opportunity to work and get those additional points. British Columbia, two programs, their Tech Pilot program, their BCPNP program. There's natural inclination of favoring or providing a little more opportunity to people who are in the province, have completed their studies recently, or maybe have had a year or 2 years of work experience. Next up, we have some of the regional pilot programs. So there is the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, there is the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program. So if you look at the details of the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot Program, the eligibility requirement is that you must have a job offer from an employer who's within these designated communities, or you have graduated from an institution which is located within these communities. In the case of Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, there is the overall stream, and then they have a specific stream wherein the graduates who are from institutions located within these different provinces and territories within the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, they have an advantage of having a specific stream for them. And also keep in mind that for a lot of employers who are within, say, the Atlantic region, the Atlantic provinces, the likelihood of being offered a job by these employers is way more for applicants who've graduated from those very institutions that are within that region. So again, the chances of securing a job within that particular community is with these people. So if you are a graduate from one of these regions, your chances of being successful in obtaining PR through one of these regional pilot programs is way higher compared to somebody who's not in Canada or who has not had studies from Canada. So the PNP programs, you're able to get a PNP nomination, you get 600 points through that. You're able to get a job offer under one of these regional pilot programs. After a certain time period, you're able to obtain PR. So this again becomes a major pathway for applicants to obtain PR once they finish their studies. To sum it up, I would say that all those students who are currently in Canada or those who are outside of Canada and prospecting the option of studying in Canada and then at the end obtaining PR. Once you complete your studies and you have, say, about 1 year of Canadian work experience, there are multiple ways for you to stay back in Canada and become a permanent resident. The biggest opportunity that you would have is through express entry, wherein you'll get additional points for your study in Canada. Because of your postgraduate work permit, you will have the opportunity to work in Canada and gain some points, CRS points because of that. Once you start working and say your PGWP expires, there's a good likelihood that your employer might offer you a job beyond that work permit, and because of that job offer, you'll have additional points again. Then is the provincial nomination option, wherein the province where you've studied, each of these provinces and territories in Canada have their own specific streams for international graduates. So that option is there. And once you have the PNP nomination with you, you get additional 600 CRS points. So that's secured. And lastly, there is the option of the regional pilot programs that we have now in terms of RNIP, the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, some other pilot programs are coming up as well. And if you've had your study from within that particular community, or you get to have a job offer because you were a graduate from that particular region, you have the opportunity of obtaining your PR as well. So as long as you do your studies well, as long as you gain your experience and you have the desire to stay in Canada as a permanent resident after your studies, there are multiple pathways. I would advise all those students, prospective students outside of Canada, that if you are looking at the option of studying in Canada and then staying back in Canada as a permanent resident, a lot of times people ask this question as to which region, which institution, which province should I pick, which program should I pick so that I'm able to obtain PR. Don't think it like that. Pick a program which meets your personal, academic, and professional requirements and needs. Start your study in Canada, then gain experience, and there will definitely be one, and in many cases more than one, PR pathways available for you. That's all from my side for today. I hope I have been able to provide some valuable information, some guidance on this for all of you who are in Canada, like students who are in Canada and are looking at various PR pathways, and for those who are outside of Canada and similarly are interested in knowing different PR pathways for international students. Feel free to post your questions in the comment section below so that I can provide a little more guidance if I've not been able to explain anything. So till the next time that we meet, take care and Allah Hafiz.